It's Graham.
Graham from the Nick and Matt Show, my personal favorite podcast.
Wow, guys. Matt here.
Matt here. So, hey, guys, Matt's here.
Matt's here.
All right, Matt. So, what we have is...
Dude, I lived for that moment, by the way. Thanks for having me on. Matt here.
We appreciate
It's a thing.
that.
It's iconic.
That's awesome.
Titan Disc Golf and Matt.
I appreciate that. So, Matt, what we have here is we have 3 different steaks with 3 different steak seasonings. So, we will try all 3 steaks, and then we will just decide which is your favorite steak seasoning. So, let's go ahead and dive into steak 1 here.
Oh, baby.
So, I heard that you have been a watcher of the steak battles, and you're familiar with the steak seasoning that is the one that we use every time, the ultimate steak and roast rub.
I went and got that because of you.
What'd you think of it?
I do a lot of actual steak cooking, and I tried it, and it was enjoyable. It was good. It's hard when you're comparing them, so we're going to find out how that goes, but it was good.
All right, so most people know you from the Nick and Matt Show, and you started a disc golf podcast. What was the reasoning behind starting a disc golf podcast?
This was the first month of the pandemic. Nobody in the world knew what that was going to turn into. It was like a slight little break kind of deal. And I said, I talk a lot. No laughing. I talk a lot. I like disc golf a lot. At that point, I'd probably been playing for like 13 years, somewhere in that window. And you looked at the landscape of podcasts then for disc golf, and there had been some that had come and gone, but there was only 1 or 2 that were kind of established. And like the entrepreneur that I feel like I am, I said there's some things that I'd like to see differently. So the market was there, and I said, let's do it. I hit up my buddy Nick. He was more the professional disc golfer. And I said, I'll set you up. You talk about it. Let's see how this goes. And that's really the inspiration. We didn't have big long-term plans, but here we are in year, like, ending our 3rd year. We're going to start our 4th year.
Yeah, so it's awesome to see. It's really blown up. I saw you guys sharing on your Instagram. A lot of people are sharing it as their most listened to podcast. Not even just disc golf podcasts, their most listened to podcast. What did you expect it to kind of blow up this quickly? I mean, the pandemic was only 3 years ago, and it's grown to become, arguably the most popular disc golf podcast, or one of the most popular disc golf podcasts. Did you expect it to become that?
So, shout out to all the disc golf podcasts. We'd put ourselves in the top 3. Some people, it's their favorite, and so we appreciate that. Thank you very much for that. They're posting, like you said, that is their favorite. I think some people have said, like, we've listened to like 5,000 hours of you this year, and I'm like, that might not be good for you, But did we think that? Well, our first episode ever, we decided to, this was another take. We decided to record live. Smashbox was doing it at the time, and it kind of felt like we wanted to have that interaction with live conversation, like letting listeners chime in. And so we didn't know what it would be like, but our first ever stream, we had like 70 people join live, which was a big deal in that moment. It was like, we didn't know if 1 would join, right? We just didn't know how it would work. But our first guest, I think I might have mentioned this the other day. We had on an OG podcaster in Terry Miller.
Oh, yeah, you did mention that, yeah.
As our first. Our second guest on that same show. It's hard to go up from there. Simon Lazat.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
On the very first episode.
That's awesome.
So we had some connections in disc golf. That's a story for another time, but it went through kids disc golf, so I had connections to players and things. And so we were able to line up guests, and that's a big strategy, obviously, because no one knows who I was or Nick was, particularly. And so we kind of did fast pass it, like we did. But there was a year where we actually took a break on our YouTube channel to go over to Foundation. Interesting and good experience, but ultimately we decided to move on. During that period, we actually didn't get, we got some love from there for sure, like fans that found us, but our YouTube channel sat dormant too.
Yeah.
So like, we got people all over and trying to come back to our channel, and so it's just been an interesting process. We don't necessarily like rate our performance by how many people listen. At the end of the day, it's like, are we delivering a good product?
Yeah.
So, but we are so happy, and I'll tell you what, people that come up to us and say, I love what you're doing over there, it means the world. I think if 10 people were watching, but we heard often enough that like they like it, we'll keep doing it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so we've had steak 1.
And it was delicious.
Awesome.
Like-
Good. I'm glad you liked it. We'll go ahead and
All
dive
right.
into steak 2 here. Actually, as I was getting prepared,
Oh, baby.
we actually lost track of the steaks for a second, and I
You're going
go-
to have to taste them and see.
yeah. So I go outside and I see this giant fireball outside, and I'm like, oh crap! I need to pull these things off, and I had to do some magic to try to recover the steaks, and I don't think it's I think it worked out. So we've you've blown up. But where do you see kind of the future of your podcast? I know there were some things you shared with me. I don't know if those are ready to share yet, but outside of maybe those things, like where do you see the future of even disc golf podcasts?
There are so many disc golf podcasts now. And I think if someone wants to do something for regional players, like that's what a lot of people are doing now, because it's a hard market now to get in where so many are talking about the big scene, the big picture. But so that's interesting. Disc golf podcasting, you could even do it for your local scene, right? If that's something you want to do, decide to do it. Do it for the love of that. Nick and Matt show, something about me, and this isn't about me, but something about me that I bring to the show is like my title at work, my full-time job. This isn't full-time for me, obviously, podcast and disc golf, is innovation. That's in my title. My mind is constantly thinking of how to do things better, improve things, keep up and advance. And so I get bored pretty easily with the same thing. And there's a way to measure time, and it's by the year. Like you can look at years. And so every year I think about how to make things fresh and new. So I can tell you that much, that I'd probably quit the show if we didn't change some things. And so this year we've got some exciting things that are coming for what I believe is the better. Some things are maybe a little bit unexpected. We're trying to figure it out. It's exciting stuff. If people like the show, no fear. The show is not going to change for the worse. It will only be better. I'll say that much. So stick around.
Good. All right, so
Hold on, I got to get another bite.
dive into another bite. Yeah, no, and so you've had this success with this podcast. I know some podcasts that have, started and, I wouldn't say failed, but didn't really get to the level they wanted to be. What do you think makes a successful podcast and to continue with that success?
Good audio. I'm kind of joking, but really, if you're going to listen to somebody, you need good audio. And so out of the gate, I had a friend, not a part of the show, but who's really good audio engineer. He kind of came and set us up. He messed around with some things, so we have a professional sound. I can say a lot of stupid takes, but it sounds good. But more than that, because you could have the best sound in the world, I think you have to have diversity in character and personality. If you think of all your favorite sports shows, you don't think of dry and dull, right? You might think of like that, let me help you with your problem show where they talk kind of boring for a while. Like you're like, okay, it's kind of interesting, but I get bored. You have to have diversity in character and personality. And so one thing that we didn't do it the first year, but enough that Nick and I are different enough that we can actually argue about something and like it's legitimate. Even more recently, I feel like we actually kind of aired a little grievance in one of our shows. And after the show, I'm like, Ben, Nick, was that too much? Because like I actually was getting heated. So like diversity in character. And then so we brought in Evan Kearns, Statmando. Before they weren't even like officially Statmando. They were at the inception of what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And he says, I got some stats I wouldn't mind sharing with you guys. I said, let's just have you kind of provide that for us. After 3 weeks, we realized, let's just bring you into the show. He was in, the rest is history. Different character. He's a different personality. He makes it, offers that extra for the person who wants that. Intern Ben, fan favorite. That guy is genuine, and we call it Benergy. He just brings it. Sometimes we're like, what are you saying? Like, it doesn't make sense, but he's that background guy, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe not for long. Stay tuned.
Right.
But he's that background guy who offers that, we love that guy. Whenever he speaks, it adds that color to the show. I think that's important because people want to identify with either one of them or find a favorite. I'll put it out there and let it be known. I am not a lot of people's favorite. I might be fourth
You're
on
my
the list.
favorite.
Okay, thank you.
Mostly because of your name.
Okay,
I'm
that's
just
fair.
kidding.
Matt's here. Yeah. But in all seriousness, that's like a part of it. And I think even the people who don't appreciate me, or my take, I should say, because I'm not taking it personally, is that we joke on the show. Whoever talks the most is the most hated. So we just bend your like because you don't say much. That's not true. It's just a fun thing we say on the show. So I need to talk less. Get my rating up.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, so what I kind of take away from that is like you have a good diversity of characters and people can kind of find who they can relate with for it.
And one last follow-up, the guests are key. If you're going to do one without guests, what I said is absolute priority. If you're going to do it with guests, like Gannon or Simon or Paul, like when Paul lost Worlds, and it's hard to say when someone loses Worlds, but that's what happened with James Conrad at the Worlds out in Utah.
Right.
That was our biggest show to date, having a loser on to be interviewed. Because the big moments are what people want to hear from the players, to hear their actual personal feelings on it.
Yeah, not just a little soundbite.
Exactly.
So we've had steak 1 and steak 2. Let's go ahead and dive into steak 3 here.
Here we go. By the way, these have been great so far.
I appreciate that.
Great. Absolutely.
It's hard because like I try to satisfy and I get a little bit critical of my own cooking. Mm-hmm. And so my personal feelings on the steak sometimes are a lot different than how other people's feelings are on the steak. So outside of your podcast, you have some other creative endeavors. You've been doing these miniature photos. You were kind of explaining to me how you do it with the different blurring of the screen. Something else you did, which we have back here. I bought a couple of these.
Oh, cool.
Is we have this disc golf artwork of it's mushroom art with baskets. So this is one of them.
Here, I'll hold it.
And then I have another one. I believe you have 6 different art pieces. And remind me, I still want you to sign these before you leave. Fun
fact. You ready for this?
Yeah.
I will sign it for you. But what is unknown for most people, it's hard to see a little bit there.
Oh, they're already?
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
It's hidden. It's
It
a
is
fun
hidden.
fact. I think it's in here somewhere too.
Awesome. Yeah. I
Anyways,
will definitely go.
But I will
searching
actually sign it.
So I'm going to hold this up while I ask you about it.
Do it.
So what, one, made you want to get into doing this? And 2, like I know you made a comment that this is not AI generated.
It's true.
Like, what's the process in making an artwork like this?
I've had actually quite a few people reach out to me and ask me, like, how are you doing this? AI is very cool, by the way. I'm still trying to figure out how to use it for work process, make things better. I'm not going to downplay AI right now, but there's something legitimate about somebody taking time, hours or days, to complete a piece of art. And so this piece takes me, if I was to do it all at one time, 3 or 4 hours. If I was to do it at one sit. Yeah. But here's where this project came from. This is the inside scoop. I've actually been sitting on most of this. This is the newest one that you're holding. Okay. But most of these, that other one, I think it's interesting. I think that was my first one. Oh, nice. First and most recent. Nice. Yeah. But for like 5 years, I didn't literally post this until you saw it and bought this. That was the first time. Wow. So I sat on them, and here's why. Everything I do, good or bad, doesn't usually lack ambition. I'm a very motivated, driven person. Like, if I do something, it's like, I'm going to take it to the moon. I'm going to get into this, and I'm going to pump out lots of these, and I'm going to make a big initiative to make it world known and everyone to buy them. So thank you for buying one or two. Yeah.
Actually, my plan is to eventually buy them all.
The whole set.
Yeah, whole set, and then
you
just gotta keep bringing you back. So you gotta keep signing them.
Okay, we'll come back.
We'll have some more steak.
We'll come back. But so everything I do, like, I don't lack ambition with it. And again, good or bad, sometimes it's like driven, and it's not a good thing for a lot. I have a lot of hobbies. That's a whole nother conversation. But I would sit down, and Photoshop was something that I've done for probably well over 20 years now. And so anybody who's into Photoshop knows that there's a lot of tools there, and you can use the tools to be creative with them. And one of the things I do, I take a stock photo that is royalty and license free, and I manipulate it. So I find mushroom pictures that I think would work. Not every mushroom, I have a lot of mushrooms in a folder on my computer. Not all of them work, and some of them do. And this one is my most recent. And I take Photoshop, and I actually have a basket that was out in my yard. I take pictures of the basket, and then you gotta get rid of all the background, right? And just, I'm explaining it simply, but like, think of all the chains hanging, you gotta see through each link.
Yeah, I've done some Photoshop and trying to cut out backgrounds, and baskets are the worst. Those chain links, every little one, it's awful.
And so AI is obviously gonna make things a lot easier, and I know the tools now with AI, I could do this very quick with AI. And so it's kind of like, is there value in somebody doing it? Because it's not AI, but AI could pump out the same thing? I'll leave that up to the viewer. But I know what I put into this, and it was not for people originally. That's why I said I sat on it, because everything I did was ambitious, that this specific project I wanted for me. And so I would sit there and I would take time, instead of pumping it out in 4 hours, like everything I do is just so driven, I would make it take weeks, in some cases months, to finish one. Because I would sit down and I'd do a little bit, and I would force myself to save and shut it down incomplete. Now, for me, that's a huge deal, just who I am. And so, over a long enough period of time, I said, I've collected 6 now over all these years. I think other people might appreciate these. And so, I put them up. And someone like you and others are deciding that they would like to display them or have them. And I'm really appreciative of that.
No, these have been awesome. Like I said, I plan on collecting the other few, and if you keep pumping them out, I'll keep buying them.
We'll see. It might be another few years.
No, it's all good. Let people know where they can find those or purchase those.
I think if you Google, let me see, disc golf mushroom. Let's see. It's on like a print-on-demand service, Printify. But if you look up disc golf mushroom in Google, I think you can find it, and you can see the others. And there's all different sizes. You don't have to buy the big one. That's really cool you did.
And we'll post, those were the largest sizes. Those were the most expensive, but they do have smaller ones that are, and they're all very reasonably priced.
I will say, so if you look up, there's other mushroom disc golf swag out there. Disc golf swag. But you look up disc golf mushroom baskets or whatever on Printify, you'll find it.
Nice.
I will clarify, these were the first that I posted up for the world. There are some out there in circulation. At intern Ben from the show, he runs a disc golf expo, and we set up his Nick and Matt show there, and I was like, I'm going to test the waters. And I put out a few, maybe 5. They sold in a second, and I was like, maybe. But I still waited a whole nother year before I put them online. But so these are the first online ones that I promoted. Yeah.
All right, so we've had all 3 stakes.
Yes.
This was stake 1. Stake 2, stake 3. So I'm gonna have you rank. What are your favorites? Was it 1, 2, 3? Was it 3, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3? What was your favorite in terms of ranking here?
People don't know this maybe, but if they watch me on like my personal social media, I really like dig steak and other meats. Like I smoke meat and the whole 9 yards. So it's hard for me to discriminate against any piece of meat.
Yeah, they're all good.
Like I was gonna say, I can actually like see it or taste it for what it is. Before I answer, man.
Sometimes you gotta refresh.
I know what I'm thinking, but I just kind
of confirm.
Yeah, I gotta confirm it.
There's been times where people have changed their answer after the show. They retried it. They're like, no, it was actually this one.
Intern Ben has been telling me that little do. It's like my thing for space filler. It's funny. Well, I already told you I like each of these for what they are. So there's literally no way to like downplay any of these. But I think I'm gonna get a little. Ooh, that's a good piece actually. This is hard, man. We got to build up the drama here a little bit. What one was your favorite?
I'll reveal my favorite after you reveal your favorite.
Because you know what they are now?
I know what they are. And I actually have a new method. So sometimes sometimes I forget which is which seasoning. I always know which is the ultimate steak and roast rub. But now I started buying toothpicks.
Okay.
Okay,
good. Yeah.
And so now I can determine which is which.
If you ever get the chance, guys, to come on here and do this steak battle, You're going to enjoy every minute of it. I guarantee it. You might not know how to answer the questions. I'm kind of just mumbling along, but you're going to like the steak for sure. I'm going to say how it's hitting me now. Can I put that disclaimer out there? Sure. These two are hitting me now. And I think there's a little bit more of the salt to bring out, like just like that. And I love things that tend to be strong and like a little bit of a kick to it. And salt does that. It just, you don't want to oversalt it. So these aren't oversalted. These are not oversalted. But to me, they're standing out. This is great flavor. But tonight, how it's hitting me. Long day at work. I'm between these two for sure. And I can taste a little hint of different flavor in the background of each of them. This is hard. That was the first one I ate, so it's standing out really good to me as like that's the first bite of the night. It's between these two.
Yeah, the order definitely matters.
I'm gonna say because I actually noticed something in this one, in the end of it, that I'm not as familiar with personally, that I like this better, I guess. That's what I'm gonna go.
So steak 2 was your favorite. What about? So then you're saying
that's
this
number
is your,
2. Yeah.
This is your second favorite.
They're close. Yeah, that's third, and it's not bad. I always see people on your little steak battle here, and when they do the third, I'm like, that must be a bad steak.
No.
This is not true.
No, and you know,
this is like 9.8, 9.3.
Yeah. It's hard to say, first, second, third when they're all amazing.
It's how it hits you. So for me, this is how it hits me. I'm favorite.
Right. So the first steak here is the ultimate steak and roast rub.
Kind of thought so.
So I figured since you had tried it before, you were gonna know.
But it was good. I know it's good.
And so that's kind of why I put it first, because I thought maybe you would be familiar with it.
It was good.
Yeah.
And if you said, Matt, which one is that? I probably would have said that.
Yeah.
It was good.
Good.
Really good.
No, they're all good. Yeah.
But did you notice I said this one was a little more unfamiliar? I actually said that, and that's why I picked it.
Yeah.
So what do we got?
So the second one is Flavor God.
Okay.
Steak and chop. You can order this online. Flavor God makes a bunch of different seasonings. And I actually thought that this seasoning, the first time I had it, I was very surprised how much I enjoyed the steak seasoning.
Okay.
Because I've had some of their other seasonings and I didn't like it as much.
I would be interested to see the ingredients after, so I can see what that little difference is.
We'll definitely check it out. And then
what is it?
The last one is one from Iowa, the Robust Ribeye Steak Seasoning from Kelowna Historical Village. So this was one that I bought at the Iowa State Fair. The Iowa State Fair is one of the largest state fairs in the country. And I just go and buy different steak seasonings.
There's nothing wrong with that.
It's decent. It's definitely my least favorite of the three as well.
There's nothing wrong with it. And you get a nice little charred, crust piece there. It's really good too.
So anyway, this was Steak Battle Season 5. I want to say like episode 21 or something.
Okay.
I had a lot this year.
Okay.
Something I really appreciate you doing is showing me the ropes and helping set up this whole thing. So we probably hopefully have a different look, a better look, I hope.
You do a great job though.
With all the equipment. So you've shown me how to kind of set up the lighting, the background ambiance. It's been great. So if you guys appreciate that, now Steak Battle should look a little bit better. Maybe I'll invest in some better microphones and whatnot and hopefully get some better stuff. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you being on. And,
you do good, man.
Yep. Thanks, guys. We'll see you guys next year.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah.